Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you are well. I just got this divine download that I wanted to share with you in regards to social distancing and the spiritual significance of social distancing. We have to understand that what we are experiencing right now in these times is really just a manifestation of our mind. Of course, with this virus, there's the biology and then there's the belief. Okay, so when it comes to the biology, yes, wash your hands, use hand sanitizers, keep your distance, etc. But then there's the belief in our minds that actually created this entire experience that we're having as a collective consciousness, as a race conscious. When you look at the dualistic way that we've all been looking at the world, right and wrong, um, left and right, China versus US, black versus white, rich versus poor, it was inevitable that we were going to have physical social distancing because we already had mental social distancing. We already had mental social distancing, and this is just a manifestation of what has actually been occurring in the mind. From Occupy Wall Street, rich versus poor, from Me Too, women versus men, from Black Lives Matter, black versus white, or the people versus the police. This has already been happening. We were already socially distanced in our minds. So what we are actually now experiencing as a collective is actually the physical manifestation, the physical social distancing of what was already occurring within us. Okay? So yes, there's the biology of this particular virus, and then there is the belief. And when you think about it, the bubonic plague, it never had a cure, y'all. It never had a cure. People took care of the biology by improving their hygiene, but it actually magically, through a change in, I believe, consciousness, started to dissipate. And there are actually still cases of the bubonic plague today, but it was a shift in not only the biology, which is making sure that we have physical hygiene, but it was our mental hygiene about how we saw ourselves. How we saw ourselves. We have to clean our mental hygiene. Jesus talks about this all the time. It's like you can do all these external laws, but if you haven't purified within, then all of that is secondary. All of that is secondary. And we have had a sickness in our minds that has caused separation. When you look at the word media, it actually comes from tunica in Latin, which then translates to membrane, which then means sheath or layer. And the media has been key to creating this separation among us. And as we go into these spaces of solitude, as we quarantine ourselves, we will start to see that these ideas of separation, of right and wrong, of rich versus poor, they were dividing us. And a house divided shall not stand. House divided shall not stand is not just talking about a marriage. This applies to a marriage too. House divided has to do with us internally. When we are divided against ourselves internally, and then of course if we're divided against ourselves internally, we're going to be divided externally as well. So this whole idea of social separation, it was inevitable. You could see it in our mental patterns that we would create something to sabotage and externalize what we are already believing within ourselves. And the hope is that because we are in a world of cycles and rhythms, that this will move us all towards coming back together. There's research that shows the only time human beings really come back together is when there's an external enemy or external force at play. 9/11, you see how all Americans come back together on 9/11, etc. When the movies like Independence Day, when you see aliens come, all of a sudden everybody's repping America, right? We are Americans. We forget all these other false labels and ideas of separation that we become accustomed to in our daily lives. So we have an external enemy that we created, which is that we co-created. I'll put it that way. We co-created through our biology and through our beliefs. And now I hope and I believe that somehow, some way, this is going to bring us together. All right. So I hope this video blesses you. This was divine download that I just wanted to share, but I really believe that this was just an inevitable. We were already socially distanced up here, so it had to find a way to manifest itself outwardly, and that became the coronavirus.